9:42 a.m., Western Pacific International Airspace. The sky was clear, blue from horizon to horizon, with thin streaks of cloud far below cruising altitude. At 34,000 feet, the U.S. Air Force reconnaissance jet maintained a steady course over international waters, its sensors quietly collecting atmospheric and electronic data. Call sign, Eagle Eye 61. This flight had been conducted dozens of times before. Same route, same altitude, same rules. But today, something felt different. 9:44 a.m. First radar contact. Inside the cockpit, a soft tone echoed through the headsets. Not an alarm, a proximity alert. Radar spike. High-speed contact bearing 095. The pilot glanced at the display. Fast. Climbing. Military. Any ID? The systems officer hesitated. Signature matches a Chinese fighter, possibly J-16 or J-20. That narrowed nothing. Either way, this was an intercept. 9:46 a.m. PLA Air Base, mainland China. Hundreds of miles away, a PLA Air Force Command Center tracked the same contact. A U.S. aircraft was flying a mission Beijing considered provocative, even if it was legal. The order was precise. Intercept, identify, deter. Two fighters were already airborne. Only one would close in. 9:49 a.m. The interceptor appears. The Chinese fighter broke through the clouds like a blade. Sleek, aggressive, fast. It approached from above and behind, staying just outside visual range. Inside the U.S. jet, the radar warning receiver chirped again. He's shadowing us. The pilot remained calm. Maintain course. Cameras on. This was standard. Until it wasn't. 9:51 a.m. Unsafe distance. The Chinese fighter closed the gap. Too fast. Too close. Visual contact confirmed. He's inside 500 meters. The systems officer said that violated intercept norms. The Chinese jet rolled slightly, showing its weapons pylons, an unmistakable signal. He wants us to react. The U.S. pilot didn't. He held course. 9:53 a.m. First aggressive maneuver. Without warning, the Chinese fighter surged forward, cutting across the U.S. jet's nose. Wake turbulence rocked the aircraft. Alarms flashed briefly. That was deliberate, the pilot said. Record everything. The Chinese jet pulled up sharply, then dropped back again, this time even closer. 9:54 a.m. Warning shots. A flash erupted ahead, then another. Two bright streaks tore through the air. Not missiles, not tracers. Cannon fire. The rounds passed deliberately in front of the U.S. jet, close enough to see, close enough to understand the message they fired. Silence filled the cockpit. This wasn't a maneuver. This wasn't intimidation. This was a use of force. 9:55 a.m. Rules change instantly. Inside the U.S. jet, threat systems escalated automatically. Weapons discharge detected. The pilot tightened his grip. Confirm no hits. Negative. But that was live fire. In an instant, the mission profile changed. This was no longer routine surveillance. This was a hostile encounter. 9:57 a.m. Command reacts. Encrypted burst transmissions shot toward U.S. Pacific Command. Short, urgent. U.S. aircraft fired upon. No damage. Chinese fighter responsible. Back at command centers, screens lit up. Legal teams, commanders, admirals. A red line had been crossed. 10 a.m. The shadow returns. The Chinese fighter fell back, then repositioned. This time, it wasn't flying formation. It was flying attack geometry. The jet slid into a firing position. Missile rails exposed. Inside the U.S. cockpit, warning tones escalated. Fire control radar detected. Possible missile prep. The pilot's voice hardened. They're locking us. 10:02 a.m. Fighters scramble. Hundreds of miles away, U.S. fighter jets were already moving. F-15, F-16, and something else. Stealth assets. Orders were clear. Do not fire unless fired upon again. But everyone knew how fragile that rule was now. 10:04 a.m. The moment before disaster. The Chinese fighter edged closer. Close enough to see the pilot's helmet through the canopy. The U.S. aircraft shuddered as turbulence washed over it. Then, another flash. Another burst of cannon fire. Even closer this time. 10:05 a.m. Something unexpected. Suddenly, every warning tone stopped. Radar lock vanished. Targeting alerts dropped to zero. Both aircraft experienced a brief systems reset. Inside the U.S. jet, we just lost him. Inside the Chinese fighter, targeting systems froze. Weapon safeties engaged automatically. No pilot input. 10:06 a.m. the sky goes quiet. For 3 seconds, both jets flew blind. No locks, no tracking, no weapons response. Then a new alert appeared on the US jet's display. Plain text, no source, disengage. The Chinese jet rolled away sharply, breaking contact for the first time. "10:07 a.m. Cliffhanger. As the US jet regained stable systems, radar detected multiple new contacts racing toward the area. Friendly, hostile, and something else. High altitude, fast, and unidentified. Whatever just intervened wasn't finished, and the warning shots were only the beginning. A Chinese fighter fired live rounds at a US aircraft. The situation should have exploded into combat. Instead, the sky itself seemed to say, "Stop." But the confrontation was far from over. 10:08 a.m. Western Pacific, the calm that shouldn't exist. The sky had gone unnaturally quiet. No radar locks, no warning tones, no radio chatter. Inside the US aircraft Eagle I-61, both crew members stared at their displays, waiting for the systems to return to normal, or for something worse. Flight controls responding, the pilot said cautiously, but our defensive suite just rebooted itself. That had never happened before. Not without pilot command, not without explanation. 10:09 a.m. Chinese cockpit confusion. Inside the Chinese fighter, the situation was far worse. The pilot's weapons panel was locked solid. Missile safeties were engaged. Cannon power was disabled. Targeting systems showed blank symbology. "Control, my systems are non-responsive," the pilot radioed. There was a pause, then confusion. "Say again?" The pilot tried to rearm. Nothing. Whatever had just happened was not a malfunction. It was selective. 10:10 a.m. Command centers react. In Beijing, operators watched their intercept feed collapse into static. The Chinese fighter was still airborne, but blind. In Hawaii, US Indo-Pacific Command received confirmation. Both aircraft experienced simultaneous system disruption. An admiral leaned forward. "Simultaneous?" "Yes, sir." Identical timing. That ruled out coincidence. For 10:12 a.m., fighters converge. Radar screens across the region filled rapidly. US fighters were inbound from multiple directions. So were Chinese reinforcements. The airspace over international waters became dangerously crowded, yet no one fired, no one locked. Everyone was waiting. 10:14 a.m. The unidentified contact returns. High above the engagement zone, sensors detected it again. Not a jet, not a satellite, not a drone. It moved faster than any aircraft, then slowed to a stationary position at extreme altitude. Every radar saw it differently. Some saw a spike, some saw nothing at all, but everyone knew it was there. 10:15 a.m. Systems begin to normalize. Without warning, avionics across both aircraft slowly returned. Radar restored. Navigation stabilized. Weapons unlocked, except one. Fire control systems remained restricted. It was as if someone had deliberately allowed flight, but denied combat. 10:17 a.m. The warning. Then every aircraft in the area received the same message. It didn't come over radio. It appeared directly on cockpit displays. Simple, unmistakable. Engagement terminated. A second line followed. Escalation not authorized. There was no signature, no nation, no language marker, just intent. 10:18 a.m. Shock at the top. In Washington, a general whispered, "That's not Chinese." In Beijing, a senior commander said the same thing. Both sides independently reached the same conclusion. This wasn't electronic warfare. This wasn't cyber intrusion. This was command override at a level no human military possessed. 10:20 a.m. The Chinese fighter withdraws. The Chinese pilot received a direct order. Break contact. Return to base immediately. No argument, no hesitation. The fighter rolled away and descended rapidly toward the mainland. The U.S. aircraft did not pursue. 10:22 a.m. U.S. escort arrives. 2 U.S. fighters slid into formation with Eagle I-61. Steady, silent, protective. The reconnaissance jet turned eastward. Mission aborted. Whatever data it had gathered no longer mattered. Something far more important had occurred. 10:30 a.m. Aftermath in the air. Within minutes, airspace normalized. Fighters peeled away. Radars returned to standard posture. The unidentified contact vanished, leaving no trace, no debris, no explanation. The sky returned to blue, but nothing else felt normal. Hours later, Classified briefings. In sealed rooms, analysts replayed the incident frame by frame. Live cannon fire confirmed weapon lock attempts, verified system overrides, synchronized to the millisecond one. Analysts summarized it best. Someone enforced rules neither side agreed to. Strategic assessment. A single fact dominated every report. Both nations lost control of their weapons at the same time. That had never happened before. Not in drills, not in war, not even in theory. Political fallout. Publicly, both governments downplayed the incident. Statements spoke of unsafe maneuvers and routine intercepts. Privately, emergency hotlines burned all night. No one wanted escalation. No one wanted to admit fear. But both sides felt it. The warning shots were real. The aggression was real. But the outcome wasn't decided by pilots or admirals or presidents. Something else had drawn a line in the sky, and neither side dared cross it. A Chinese fighter fired warning shots at a U.S. jet. History says that should have ended in missiles. Instead, it ended in silence, because someone, or something, decided the war would not begin that day. And the most dangerous truth of all became clear. The future of warfare may no longer belong solely to those who fight it,